I just placed a phone call to my friend John McCain to congratulate him on the race he ran here in New Hampshire. He ran a really good race, and tonight is his night and the night of his supporters, and we all congratulate him.
On the night of John McCain's crushing triumph 3 weeks ago, the winner was as gracious in victory as his opponent in defeat.
I'd like to congratulate the other candidates. I received a very gracious phone call from Governor Bush. I think all of the candidates conducted this campaign in a manner in which the people of America and the people of New Hampshire can be very proud.
But proud was not what Governor George Bush of Texas really felt. He'd been cruelly humbled, and from now on, the gloves were off. Good losers don't win the White House.
And now this campaign heads to Delaware and South Carolina. I like my chances in Delaware, and South Carolina is Bush country.
In 1860, South Carolina was the first southern state to secede from the Union. For a century after the South's defeat, this upstate hill country slumbered in nostalgic, God-fearing poverty. Not anymore. From Raleigh, North Carolina to Atlanta, Georgia, Route I-85 is now a river flowing through the upstate, spreading wealth and work and fast food franchises along its banks. The city of Greenville, South Carolina, is no southern backwater, but a boom town typical of boom time America. If John McCain can win here, he can win anywhere. And right now, he's on a roll.
The message is clear, the message is simple, and we are very enthusiastic at the reception that our message is getting here. We are going to take the government out of the hands of the big money and the special interests, and we're going to give it back to the people of this country who deserve it. We've been having a great time, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's going to be fun. And if you want to go on a wild ride, hitch on, because we go in places that we don't know we're going ourselves. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here.
He really does seem to love it. The endless bus rides, the hotel rooms and speeches and cameras and handshakes, day after day, month after month. And the public is loving him back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to see you.
It's nice to see you too. Hi, George.
God bless you, sir. You're a national hero of mine.
Thank you, sir. I'm honored.
Good luck
Really,
to you,
thank
sir.
you, sir. Going this way? Okay.
Thanks for coming to Greenville.
Thank you very much.
It's an audacious campaign. A conservative Republican, a U.S. senator of 18 years standing, has cast himself as the man to take on the money politics which are at the root of his own party's power. One of the campaign's chief designers is his political strategist, Mike Murphy.
Well, the story of the McCain campaign is message versus money and organization and one man against the machine. But we have the support of the grassroots, and people see that we're the new force in the Republican Party. We're much closer to the voters, and they're kind of tired of the top-down leadership, and we think that's a lot of the reason we're being so successful.
In South Carolina, as in New Hampshire, McCain's is a direct and personal appeal that crosses generational and party divides. He attracts Democrats and independents, as well as traditional Republicans, veterans of foreign wars, and fresh-faced students.
John McCain is certainly, the man for me. I like his campaign platform. This guy's a reformer. He wants to change government, and I can tell you as a youth and as a college student, I'm not real happy with government.
He's #1 in the nation, as far as I'm concerned. There's nobody else running. And I mean that literally.
Yeah.
This other guy's spoon-fed, silver slippers, silver spoon, and And money, 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 my country is not for sale under no circumstances.
Yes, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
There are places where John McCain's appeal is strictly limited, and this is one of them.
I haven't seen a single John McCain sticker here tonight. Who is that? Where is he from?
Floyd Spence has represented South Carolina's 2nd District in the House of Representatives in Washington for 30 of his 72 years. This is the launch of his year 2000 campaign. And everyone who's anyone in the South Carolina Republican Party is here. And everyone who supports Floyd Spence for Congress, it seems, supports George W. Bush for president.
Thank you all very much.
Bush effortlessly charms and delights this crowd.
And Mr. Chairman, if all goes well, starting a week from tomorrow, if all goes well, we can work together to do what's right for this world, to do what's right. So I hope everybody makes sure they turn out and vote for Floyd when his election's up. I'm also asking you to make sure that you turn out and vote for me. I appreciate your confidence. I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you supporting this fine American. God bless you all, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
But for all the easy grin and the boyish charm, George W. Bush is worried. A week before the primary, he feels he has the party regulars in the bag. But in South Carolina, as in New Hampshire, anyone can vote in the Republican primary.
That counts. That's right.
It's the independents and Democrats, the so-called crossover vote, that George Bush fears. And John McCain is courting.
McCain doesn't have to get a majority among Republicans. He just has to come closer there and then win the crossover vote. And his campaign is all geared toward getting veterans and Democrats out to vote for him. And I think he'll be pretty successful, frankly. I think he'll do pretty well. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he won.
Dave Woodard teaches political science at Clemson University, a prestigious college half an hour out of Greenville. His own students illustrate the danger for the Bush machine. At the primary forum they've organized, McCain's stall is bigger and busier than the rest.
These two pieces of literature right here, they kind of outline his platform.
And that's got to be appealing to you guys.
And in Woodard's classroom, Bush supporters are hard to find.
I'll tell you the difference is that Bush to me seems sleazy. Like I can't get over that. Like it's just when I see him on TV and anything, all I can think of is just like, you know, like real greasy and like, you know, like the typical politician that you can imagine.
Let's go to my Democrats. Are they planning on voting in this election, Russell? Who are you voting for?
I believe I'll have to cast my ballot for Mr. John McCain.
Oh, you will?
All right, Ed, where are we going now?
Not all McCain supporters are independents and Democrats.
See if we can get Lee Barrett to give us a hand.
Colonel Ed Rumsey, U.S. Air Force retired,
This car back
is
here,
about
if you
as
take-
solid a Republican as you could
This car
find.
back here, if you take the truck, okay?
Okay, good.
He's vice chairman of the party in Oconee County, just west of Greenville. Like many former military men, he believes that a U.S. Navy fighter pilot who endured 5.5 years of torture and imprisonment in Vietnam is the kind of man America needs to succeed Bill Clinton in the White House.
The most important thing that he has going for him is he can look you right in the eye and tell you the truth, and you know he's telling the truth. And I believe that our country is looking for somebody of that caliber to become a leader for our country here for the next 4 years.
The primary contest has split Republican families down the middle. Hardware store owner Lee Barrett, for instance, has a brother who's a state representative and a stalwart Bush supporter.
We've got some signs for you here in the car. Well, that's wonderful.
But Lee himself is all for McCain. He's not impressed by George W.'s family connections and impeccable Republican credentials.
Now, who are we going to get when we get Bush? We're going to get Bush, we're going to get Bush's old man, or we're going to get all Bush's cronies? I think we're going to get Bush's old man and all his cronies.
But McCain's supporters are enthusiastic amateurs compared with the formidable forces they're confronting. Upstate South Carolina may be the land of mammon these days, but it's still God's country too. Vast churches loom amidst the shopping malls, and the Christian soldiers are working for Bush. After a full day's work and an hour teaching Sunday school, Lisa Van Riper, college lecturer, supermom and networker extraordinaire, is still in a hurry.
I am tough because there's a lot at stake here. And I think New Hampshire was a wake-up call, not only to the candidate, but for some of us social conservatives.
In her grand home in the Greenville suburbs, her troops are already hard at work.
We've got to stuff all these letters, okay? Obviously. We're going to do, mail houses go do 72,000 of these, and we're going to do 13 to 15,000. But this is the only group we have to hand address, 3,000 hand addressed.
3,000 Southern Baptist pastors are about to receive letters urging them to urge their congregations to vote for Governor Bush.
Yeah, what is the target date? When are we supposed to have these out?
One good thing about this is these are hand addressed, and they're much more likely to be opened because of that.
They may be volunteers working in God's cause, but they're hard-headed political operatives too. They know perfectly well that McCain is trying to maximize the independent and Democratic crossover vote.
So, the way you have to counter that is you have to get the social conservatives, you have to get those numbers up. So that's what we're after. We're after getting those numbers up.
On the issues she cares about, parental control of education, abortion, morality in government, Lisa believes John McCain is suspect.
We make the best choices we can, and then we say, yeah, this is not a tea party we're having. This is really serious business.
Handwriting thousands of letters takes time. TV advertising takes money. And George Bush has plenty of that.
He challenged the status quo and reformed welfare.
In New Hampshire, he concentrated on promoting his own qualifications for the job.
Governor George W. Bush.
A reformer with results. He will restore integrity and values to the White House.
John McCain promised a clean campaign.
But in South Carolina, an avalanche of ads attacked John McCain's tax plan and his claim to be a crusader against special interests in Washington.
He attacks special interests, but the Wall Street Journal reports
McCain's campaign is crawling with lobbyists.
His conservative hometown paper warns
it's time the rest of the nation learns about the McCain we know.
I guess it was bound to happen. Governor Bush's campaign is getting desperate with a negative ad about me.
Despite having promised time and again not to fight a negative campaign, McCain hit back.
Governor Bush uses all the surplus for tax cuts, with not one new penny for Social Security or the debt. His ad twists the truth like Clinton. We're all pretty tired of that.
Many Republicans felt that comparing Governor Bush's truthfulness to Bill Clinton's was a punch below the belt. Forced onto the defensive, McCain offered to pull all his negative ads if Bush reciprocated.
Oh, it's good to see you.
Isn't this whole beginning to distract from the substance of your campaign now?
That's always a risk that you take in politics, but also there's another rule, and that is you can't allow attacks to go unresponded to. So,
did you get any response to your offer to the governor to withdraw the ads?
Not yet. We hope that we'll get that response from the governor, because we'd like to see all those ads taken down and then get on the issues.
Please give a warm South Carolina welcome to the next President of the United States, Senator John McCain and his wife, Cindy.
But the town hall meeting he'd come to attend would provide a turning point in the campaign. A woman told him how her 14-year-old son, for whom McCain was a hero, had taken a telephone call from an anonymous pollster.
But he was so upset when he came upstairs and he said, "Mom, someone told me that Senator McCain is a cheat and a liar and a fraud." And he was almost in tears. I am so mad. I was so livid last night I couldn't sleep.
I really hope that the people that are doing these things could have heard and seen your statement, because we don't need to do this to young people.
At a press conference immediately afterwards, a visibly upset McCain appealed to his rival directly.
I'm calling on my good friend George Bush to stop this now. To stop this now. I can't believe that a person from a good family such as George Bush wouldn't stop this, but if he doesn't, then I will call him, or I will write him, or I will do whatever I can.
Hours later, McCain announced he would run no more attack ads, no matter what the Bush campaign did. But Governor Bush was unimpressed. Are you going to respond to Senator McCain's unilateral disarmament?
There's an old trick in American politics. It's run a bunch of negative ads and then say, let's do no more. And he's been doing this for 18 days. Obviously, it's not working. He actually equated me to President Clinton, which in the Republican circles is a pretty high insult. And I'm going to defend myself. And I'm going to do what's necessary to make sure I set the record straight.
And so he did.
McCain's plan, a tax cut smaller than Clinton's. And
for the next week, the Bush campaign and its allies blitzed the airwaves.
Senator McCain, 5 times he voted to use your taxes to pay for political campaigns. That's not real reform.
John McCain says he's for tax cuts, yet he's proposed $150 billion in new taxes.
By the time George Bush came to Clemson University for a rally on the day before the poll, even hardened veterans like Dr. Dave Woodard were talking about the unprecedented scale of the Bush campaign's effort.
Mail and TV and radio. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
The First Lady of the state of Texas, Laura Bush, and the Governor of Texas and the next President of the United States, George W. Bush.
Bush left it to his ad men to wage the negative campaign. Meanwhile, he targeted his own message straight at the Republican heartland.
I'm running because the great values of America mean a lot to me and should mean a lot to everybody who's fortunate enough to be an American. I'm running because I want to end the Clinton era in Washington, D.C.
Meanwhile, John McCain was hammering ineffectually at his opponent's negative tactics.
Every time anybody picks up a phone or turns on the radio or the television set, they see an attack ad from the Bush campaign.
But McCain himself sounded less every day like the conservative Republican he claimed to be.
My friends, if you share our vision, if you share our hope, if you share our courage, then I say to independents, Democrats, libertarians, vegetarians, come on over, vote for me tomorrow, and I'll give you your dream.
On the eve of the election, most of the polls and the pundits agreed. A big turnout would mean a big crossover vote and a narrow victory for John McCain. Which just goes to show how wrong pollsters and pundits can be. Saturday dawned cloudy and threatening, but by mid-morning in Oconee County, the weather had turned clear and warm, and the voters were pouring into the polls.
127? 128, sir. Good turnout, huh?
Colonel Ed Rumsey had never seen anything like it.
It's just been an exciting primary. When you read a paper or you turn on the TV, there's the South Carolina presidential primary. It may be the crucial primary in the whole United States. So with that kind of coverage, people are coming out to vote.
Do you mind telling us which way you voted?
Oh, we absolutely voted for John McCain for the Republican candidate for presidency of the United States.
Both of you?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. You give me the top, and you put your ballot in the box. Okay?
In the polling booth in Greenville County, where Lisa Van Riper was helping voters, the turnout was just as high.
89.
But as Lisa pointed out, that wasn't necessarily good news for John McCain.
The strategy in the Bush campaign was to get the traditional Republican vote out. If these are Republicans that are coming in today, then we have a very high Republican turnout, which should bode well for Mr. Bush.
And that, it turned out, was what was happening. Traditional Republicans turning out in huge numbers, inspired, among other factors, by the fear that Democrats and independents were about to take over their primary.
We are fearful of that. We're praying much about the Lord's willingness and that conservative Christians will get out and vote and override those who really don't care.
Those prayers were answered. Soon after the polls closed, John McCain emerged to concede defeat. In 3 short weeks, his crusade had plummeted from the heights of euphoria to a setback from which he'll find it hard to recover. From the loser this time, not graciousness, but ill-concealed bitterness.
I will not take the low road to the highest office in this land. I want the presidency in the best way, not the worst way.
In South Carolina, 2 maxims of American politics have been proved true once again. You don't win Republican primaries by neglecting the Republican base. And in politics, as much as war, the best form of defense is what it's always been: attack.
And I want you to know what I think. I believe, because of this vote today, that I will be the next president of the United States. Thank you all very much, and God bless you all.